Hi there. In September 2025, my student started her master's program in policymaking at the London School of Economics. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I helped her get there. So let's get started. Now, before we dive into the details, let me share a little bit about myself. My name is Manil. I am a study abroad counselor and mentor who has helped students get admits to some of the top universities globally, including London School of Economics, University College London, Warwick, Edinburgh, so on and so forth. Now, UK is where my specialization lies, but I also help students apply to universities at top universities all over the world, including Australia, US, Canada, UAE, and all the popular countries. Now, in this video, we're going to understand exactly what was the process that we followed with Anika that helped her successfully receive an offer and start her education at the London School of Economics. So, Anika and I connected after a talk that I had delivered at her campus in University of Delhi. And post that talk, she reached out to me and she shared that she had a career ambition of being a policy maker. And for that, she wanted to pursue a master's program after she completed her economics honors program. Now, Anika did go to one of the top ranked colleges in India. That, of course, played in her favor. But that being said, there were still a lot of gaps that had to be covered to ensure that she got the offer from the very top universities. So, step one after she joined my mentorship program was to help her identify her strengths and interests. Why was this important? Now, what happens is a lot of students will come to me talking about programs that they want to pursue just because they are trending and because somebody told them that there is a huge career opportunity after completing that program. Unfortunately, what happens is the students' strengths and interests don't really match. And even though the student may end up in that trending program, they don't really perform well. And as a result, at the end of the program, they find themselves standing at the same place where they were before the start of the program. So it is critical that they go for a program that actually helps them launch a career. Now, in Anika's case, luckily for her, her strengths and interests matched perfectly. So that was not a challenge in her case. For us, step two was what was very important, and that was to identify the right set of programs to apply to. Now, she already had informed me that her target university was London School of Economics. So for me, that was a good starting point. In a lot of cases, don't students are not even sure where is it that they wish to start. But that is not a concern because I help students identify what is that ideal target university for them. And then we go on and create an entire list. Now, what we do it and what we did in case of for Anika as well was that we look at the target university and the target course. And then we identify a few more courses around that which are of a very similar level, structure, outcomes, and that set of programs is added to the target list, the target profile list. And we also select a few programs that sit higher than those programs. So these become the dream programs. So it's sort of like, I know this is a little beyond my reach, or probably even a little more than beyond my reach, but I will give it a shot. And if I do end up getting through, I will accept that program. And then we also do a small list of backup programs. These are programs that we may not necessarily apply to, but let's say we do not get an offer from any of the target programs. We then apply to these backups, which are not too far off in terms of the profile from the ones that we were targeting. So it's a small difference, but the student would be happy to accept those offers as well. Now, in case of Anika, LSE, University College London, Sciences Po Paris, were the universities that fit the profile perfectly. Now, even at these universities, there were multiple programs that we could apply to. So, in the first round of shortlisting, what we did was we identified as many programs as possible. And from that, I then worked with Anika to help her identify a much tighter list of target programs. For her dream university, we looked at Oxford. At Oxford, we decided that we will apply to one program. I will talk about its outcome as well because it's very interesting. And then for a backup, we had a few more universities within the UK that we were looking at. I think her backups were Edinburgh, and as far as I remember, it was also King's College. King's College was sort of like the last course program on the list, and That's how we got to. So we finally came up with a list of 7 programs. Of these, 2 were at London School of Economics, one was at University College London, one was at Sciences Po, then there was one at University of Oxford. So that makes up a total of 5, and then we had Edinburgh and King's. So that's a total of 7 programs that we finalized for her, and that we applied to. So we didn't apply to all 7. So that's now step 3. Step 3 is not application. Step 3 is where we first start working on building the student's profile. So the CV. Now what happens is there may be a lot of strengths, but there will be a lot of gaps. A student may not be able to show that they have the necessary skill to be able to enter that program. And universities on their page of the course will state we are looking for such and such skills. So how do you show those? Well, there are multiple ways. You could show internships, you could show certificate programs, you could show modules within your curriculum, right? But we need to identify those and highlight those. If they do not exist within your profile at this point of time, then I suggest the student to actually go out and complete these either internships or certificates, not random certificates bought off some website, but proper certificates that hold value. And then we add those to the CV. So usually when a student is looking to apply to the very top universities, I request that the student come to me early. So let's say, for example, you want to apply to the let's say now September 2027 intake. I would suggest now is the time to come to me, not in September 26, but now. Why? Why do I say that? Because in September 26, we would be submitting your application. So, like, sort of September is when we'll be finalizing everything. And let's say October to November is when we would be submitting our application. So, at that point of time, if you come to me and then we have to start completing your profile, we might not have sufficient time in hand. And that could be a huge challenge. But if you come to me now, we have enough time to ensure that you can add quality inputs to your CV and profile. So step 3 is where we finally have the CV in place. Step 4 is then our SOPs. That is where the long hours of efforts come in. Anika and I remember, had days where we worked on her SOPs for about 7 or 8 hours in a single day. Now, I do not ghost write. I will not write your SOP. It is as simple as that. Why? One, it is unethical. Two, that is not the way to go about this. Right? I can write an SOP. It takes me not, especially in the time of AI, it would take me barely a few minutes to prepare an SOP. But one, you as an applicant would never really know what are you applying to. And let's say, for example, you have to go for an interview. If the university decides to set up an interview with you, you will never be able to ace that interview. In fact, MIT last week, so at the time of publishing this video, a week before, MIT has now published a proper finding where they've shown that students who are over reliant on AI have already started seeing a dip in their IQ and outcomes and performance. So that's a warning right there. Coming back to SOPs, I will not ghost write your SOP. What happens is, like in case of Anika, she started putting together a draft. We discussed what should go into that draft. We had a proper conversation about that. I helped her understand what are the points she can write, what should be the structure of the SOP. She put together her first draft, and then she and I started working on it together to bring it to the point where it is a properly polished SOP that brings out her achievements, her strengths, her capabilities, her skills. That's what we did, right? Now, each application for each course has different requirements depending on the university, the program. So these SOPs also then need to be adjusted to each application. Now, what happens is there's usually what I do is I build a central SOP from which we then cut out these pieces and then adapt, adjust, correct these pieces as per the application that we are making. After the application is done, so the SOP is done, which was basically step 4, we then take step 5, which is we actually submit the applications. We literally will sit down and go through each step together to make sure that the applications are done accurately. Once that is done, we then wait for the response from the universities. Now, some students choose to, at this stage, prepare for the IELTS test. In Anika's case, she chose to prepare for the IELTS test before we even got into the application phase. She had some time, So we spent some time preparing for a test. The scores were ready. So at the time of the application itself, her IELTS score was available to attach. But a lot of students can choose to prepare for IELTS in this at this stage, because none of the universities will wait for an IELTS score to assess your application. What they could do is they may actually absolutely waive off the requirement for an IELTS score depending on your profile, or they may offer you a conditional offer stating that we like everything else, we need an IELTS score. This is the date. By this date, kindly submit the score to us, and we will convert this conditional offer into an unconditional offer. So during that wait, we can prepare for the IELTS test. Next is receiving an offer. So that is step 6, where universities then start sending out offers. In Anika's case, she had UCL, she had an offer from LSE. We never applied to Edinburgh or to King's because she was already receiving these offers. Um, in the case of Sciences Po, uh, and in Oxford, right? In these two cases, we had very interesting replies. In Sciences Po's case, they said, we would love your profile. We love your profile, but their seats were full by the time she got assessed. I don't remember the exact details over there. In the case of Sciences Po, we had sort of held on to that application till the very last minute. We did not really want to apply to that. But at the last minute, she was like, maybe we should go for it. So we did. And I think we got a little late in that case. But it didn't really matter because she wanted to go to the UK for her policy course, and she had an offer from UCL, she had an offer from LSE. Oxford got back to her and said, we really like your profile. The only thing we would want is if you can add a little more work experience to your profile and come back, and we'll be very happy to have you. And they also said that if you can consider this as sort of a conditional offer, subject to that experience being added. So that was already huge, because I remember when she came to me, she said, listen, Oxford will never even consider me, right? So in that way, I think we were able to work on our profile enough to make Oxford say that we like your profile. There's a gap, and that's okay, because Oxford already sort of does have expectations that people will come from master's programs with a little bit of work experience. But what happens is that most people will never get this, oh, you know what, consider this as sort of a conditional, or if you come back with this much experience, we'll be happy to have you. They'll usually say, oh, that was an excellent application, but we cannot accommodate everyone. Thank you so much for your application. That's the standard rejection response from Oxford. They do not add this extra paragraph. In her case, it was there. So that was huge for us. At this point of time, we are waiting for other responses for Oxford from students who are applying to the September 26 intake. Once again, unfortunately, the student who have helped for Oxford comes without WorkX. So let's see how that goes. Anyways, moving forward. So once Anika received her offers, we had to accept those. That's again a very formal process, not a very long process, but has to be done very accurately. We completed that, and then we got into the visa application phase. So when a student comes to me, I always help the student end to end. Now, visa is not the end. That is where most other people stop, but that's not where I stop. Visa done. If necessary, I can help students look for accommodation, book flights. I have my tie-ups with third-party vendors. I don't do those. I usually connect my students with these third-party vendors for education loans, for accommodation, for flights, and so on and so forth. Um, Anika chose to do everything on her own, right? And then departure. She made it to the UK, joined her course, but my support to her did not end there. In fact, 3 days before recording this video, she and we were on a phone call for over an hour and a half, where I was guiding her through the process of applying for internships. And so I was not helping her apply to those internships. That's not within my mentorship program, right? But I was giving her the right kind of advice in how she has to approach her job application process. Because unfortunately, what happens is once students make it to the UK, they don't really have access to a mentor who can guide them through the whole thing. I, on the other hand, am available because I have myself studied in the UK many, many years ago. I understand, but nonetheless, I do have that UK experience. I don't know, and I know what works and what does not work, because I was one of those few students. In fact, I think one of those two students on my entire program who got a job offer through campus placement, right, which is rare in the UK. So I had followed the right process. So I helped Anika understand that process as well, and now she's working on that. And that's something that I've done for all of my students as well. So this year, I had 4 students start programs in the UK. all of them at the very top universities. Pooja started at Edinburgh, a course in finance and accounting. Tanya and Aditya started their course in cybersecurity at Warwick, and Anika started at London School of Economics. And I've been guiding all of them through this entire process of how they can land a job, because of course that is important, that is critical, that is necessary, right? So that's what I also then ensure that I'm helping my students with, who join my mentorship program after they are done with their application process and they've even reached their destination. So that's how I helped Anika get to LSE. Now, if you too want to join my mentorship program, even if you want to join just my regular counseling program, right, which takes you all the way to the UK, everything else is the same. All you've got to do is click on the link in the description. Reach out to me, drop me a WhatsApp text. Either I or my wife will be in touch with you to understand what is it that you're looking to do. And from there, we'll take the conversation forward. Now, I hope you found this video very useful in terms of understanding how exactly does this process of applying to universities abroad work. I once again urge you, if you're actually planning to go study abroad, start early for your master's program. Do not leave it to the last minute, especially if you want to go to the very top universities. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope to be a part of that process of studying abroad for your in your case. I will also see you with another video soon on the channel. I try and post every week, right? So until the next video, you take care. Do subscribe, like, and share this video with a friend who you think might find this useful. Until then, until the next one, you take care. Bye bye.